Good morning, everyone. This is going to be the first day of boiling down our sap that we've collected so far. The oldest taps that I set up are now a week old. It's really not a good idea to let your sap sit out there any more than a week because bacteria could start to develop in the sap. So I try to boil down sap every weekend. Whatever I've collected that week, I boil it down, get it to a more concentrated level. Jake and I built a evaporator barrel in a previous video. I'll put that link in the upper corner of the video screen right now. It's all set to go, but we have to drop some sand as an insulator in the bottom of the barrel. It gets so hot in there that it can burn through the barrel eventually. So if you put a good few inches of sand down in the bottom, it'll act as an insulator and protect the barrel make the barrel last a bit longer basically. So let's do that quick. I've got a few homemade fire starters, which I showed how to make in a previous video. I'll link that right now. 3 of these set up in the bottom of the burn barrel, and then put some kindling around it. So I've got some buckthorn, some ash, some pine, widow makers that have fallen from the maple trees that we're tapping, and we're gonna get it started now, get this fire going. Want to make sure that your front vent is open to keep good airflow. Obviously I've got the door open right now so I can get some footage inside here of the fire getting going. But once this door's shut and we got pans on top, you want to keep that airflow circulation going through the fire, through the embers, and up out the chimney. So make sure that this door is open on the bottom of your burn barrel. And then make sure that the damper's open too in the chimney. So we've got a good fire going now. I'm going to start adding in some larger firewood. This happens to be ash from a tree that we cut down right here, actually, right behind us. It got infected by the ash borer. That was probably about 2 or 3 years ago. We cut that tree down. Still have some firewood from it. Some nasty buckthorn we cut down in our tree lines. Burning this too. So while our fire is heating up, I'm going to cut some more smaller kindling out of some of this wood. We've got a whole bunch of pine here that I took down on my father-in-law's property last year. I have to start splitting some of that wood so we can keep that fire going nice and hot. So the fire's going pretty good now. I'm just going to add some more fuel to it here. And then I'm going to start collecting all the sap that we've harvested so far. That should do for quite a while. Alright, so we're at the first tree that I'm going to collect from today. Because my operation is small enough, I like to keep one pail free. So basically what I do is I'll take this pail, swap it out with this pail so this one can start filling up, empty this pail into the pans, and then take it to the next tree and repeat the process. Alright, so this tree's set up with an empty pail and it's ready to start collecting again. As I touched on in the last video, there is a topper of ice in here, which is just pure water. I'm out here a little bit later. The sun's been beating on this tree a bit, so the ice is melted a little bit already. But you can remove all of this ice because that's just pure water. That's just going to take it longer to boil down to get to your concentrated sugar content that you're looking for. I've got 2 of my evaporator trays here. I'm going to start filling these up. And we'll get this one over the fire to start evaporating. I'm big on record keeping, so I like to mark down when I tap a particular tree, when I harvest and how much I harvest. And that just gives me a good idea for the following season of what trees perform the best based on sun exposure. I'll jot down weather, what the temperatures are like. This coming week we're supposed to get up into the 60s and it's not going to get down into freezing at night. I've read if you don't get freezing temps at night for 24 to 48 hours, the sap will stop running. So I haven't encountered that myself yet. This will be the first time, so I'm not sure what that means for the rest of the season. But yeah, I'm going to take some notes and then go collect all the rest of the trees and bring them over here and continue evaporating. I was a little late in collecting the sap from the tree on my neighbor's property that I said was getting the most sun exposure. This pail was actually overflowing when I went to collect it. So we had 5+ gallons on it in a week. Not too bad. I'm going to add the rest of this to the other pan that's already on the evaporator. All of the steam that you see coming off of this first evaporator pan is pure water that's evaporating off, leaving behind the higher concentration of sugar. Check on the fire here, see if we need to add to it. Okay, so I would not recommend a heat pad here to open that door. It's not up for the task. These work a lot better. Well, now that we got the evaporator going, it's just a matter of enjoying the nice weather and letting it do its thing. It's going to take many, many hours. Watching some Justin Rhodes while I'm watching our sap boil. It's a good idea to come out here and skim all the foam off the top of your sap occasionally. The foam is basically a bunch of imperfections in the syrup, so we don't want it in our final product anyway. I'm burning some pine right now and it smells amazing. You can smell the maple syrup already too. If anyone wants to buy me a mechanical log splitter, that'd be awesome. Got a little preoccupied with the chidlers inside and accidentally let my fire burn down a little too low, so I'm gonna spread out these embers a bit, throw some fresh wood in. Get these babies on a rolling boil again. So I've found that keeping the front door open allows quite a bit of air to circulate through, keeping the fire nice and hot and burning well. Anytime that I've kind of closed the door, our rolling boil kind of cuts out, and it's not maintaining the right temperature. So keeping the door open has helped a lot. This back one has been boiling quite well, but the front one's just not getting enough heat. It seems like all the heat's concentrated back here. So I'm gonna swap these pans around quick to give this one a chance to start boiling down pretty good. And this one's getting it's getting down there. I might let it boil a little bit longer. But I've got, let's see, I've got 5 more trees worth of sap to add to these yet today. So we gotta keep these boiling pretty good. While I got this off, I suppose I could throw some more wood back there too. I've got to thank my father-in-law for all that pine that he let me take after we cut them down last season. It's burning really well. It's nice and seasoned now. Burns really hot, smells great. I love the smell of pine. Wouldn't be opposed to some of that pine flavor getting imparted into this maple syrup. Not sure if that'll happen or not, but that'd be pretty neat. Our evaporator pans are starting to get lower on sap. They're about halfway full right now, so maybe a good 2 inches or so of sap in each one. I'm gonna go ahead and go grab some more pails of sap from our trees and add those to these to get those boiling down. Alright, I collected sap from 2 more of our trees. This is about maybe 3.5 gallons worth. I'm just going to top these off. Unfortunately, this will bring the temperature down a bit. But I've got to boil this sap off anyway, or else it's going to start growing some bacteria out in the yard. So this evaporator that Jake and I built, link in the upper corner of the screen, has actually been working out really well for us. If you're interested in getting your hands on one of these barrels, Jake and I are still producing them and selling them to people locally. If you're within 20 miles of McGuanago as the crow flies, we'll deliver it free of charge. Information will be in the description of this video. pine that I'm burning from my father-in-law, these were actually trees that they planted when they bought their property close to 30 years ago. I'm glad they're being burned for a purpose and not just rotting away somewhere. This wood is releasing 30 years worth of sunlight as heat to evaporate our maple sap. I just got back from harvesting the sap from my neighbor to the south's property. I put those taps in, I think 3 days ago. I have 3 trees over there that I've tapped, 2 of which have 2 taps each, and I've already got like 6 gallons of sap from his property, which is crazy. So I'm gonna empty this pail in, add it into what we've been boiling down already, and then go grab the rest of it from his property and add that in as well. And that'll be it for the rest of today. Just boiling down what we've collected done. There's a honeybee that was just buzzing around the sap. Probably can pick up on the sugar content. Those flames are nice and tall, licking the bottom of the pans. We'll get this stuff back to a rolling boil. So I just crunched some numbers. All of last season, I tapped 3 trees on our property and ended up collecting about 18.5 gallons of sap. Already today, I've brought in 19.5 gallons of sap. That's the first week of harvest. So there's still a few weeks of sap flow left, weather depending. I'm gonna have a ton more syrup than I did last season, which I'm really excited about. It's a good thing I'm boiling all this down outside, because last year I boiled everything down inside and there was condensation everywhere. So with the sap I've collected already, I've had, let's see, on my neighbor to the west, I tapped his 2 trees a week ago. I tapped the trees on my property and my neighbor's property between 3 and 4 days ago. So not even a full week of harvest from those trees, and I've already collected that much sap. That's pretty impressive. It's pretty cool. Not sure how well this is going to get picked up on video, but the sap is definitely turning a brownish golden color. As the sugars concentrate and start to caramelize, the color of the sap will turn from clear to a golden color. It's bound to happen. Ashes are going to get caught in your syrup. So just periodically as you're straining your foam off, dig down in there and clean out some of those ashes too. Some people will strain their sap right after it comes out of the tree before it goes into here. Sometimes there's some really fine, it's called sugar sand, that'll collect in your sap. And basically when you render it all down and you let it sit for a little bit, you'll see kind of sand granular pieces in the bottom of the jar. Myself personally, I'll boil it down, get it nice and concentrated, and then before I take it inside, which will be in part 3, before I take it inside to do the final boil down and evaporation process, I'll filter it then, and then I'll filter it again as I'm jarring it. So I basically do 2 filtrations. This is the last of the sap that I collected over this past week. I'm going to add that in and boil this down. I'm going to keep this fire nice and hot, continue boiling until probably nightfall, and then I'll show you guys what I'll do with the sap after that. Well, the sun is setting and we've got maybe 2 inches of sap left in each one of our evaporator pans. So I'm gonna quit adding wood to the fire and just let this start to cool down. Yeah, we're almost out of wood anyway. So I'm gonna burn the rest of that off. Let this cool down. I've actually got some lids for these pans that I'm gonna throw on top of these. And then I might take these, and yeah, I'm gonna take these off and set them out in the snow tonight with the lids on top of them so nothing can get into them. And just let them cool. Maybe even by the morning, any residual water that's in there will freeze and I can pull that water out. And then I'm gonna take what's left in these pans and put them into a big pot, take them inside into a controlled environment to do the final processing, which will be part 3 of this video series. I hope you enjoyed spending the day with me, and Emmy just fell in the mud. You okay?
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed spending the day with me, evaporating some sap. Stay tuned for part 3 of this series, where we finish off our first batch of maple syrup. Take care, everybody.